This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump says without his intervention,
Los Angeles right now would be on fire.
California leaders disagree. I'm Rich Johnson.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was questioned by lawmakers on the Trump administration's decision to deploy troops to Los Angeles. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Jurors in Harvey Weinstein's sex crimes retrial appeared to be focusing on one of his three accusers, Julie Walker, New York.
President Trump is signaling an end to another agency, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Ed Donahue, Washington.
On Wall Street, stocks had a winning day yesterday as investors now wait for the latest on inflation. Data comes this morning. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
And the winners of the New Jersey gubernatorial primary. All ahead on America in the Morning. In an address to his state and the nation, California Governor Gavin Newsom accused President Trump of what he called pulling a military dragnet across Los Angeles, instilling fear and targeting hardworking people with arrests and inflaming a combustible situation. This as protests that led to a number of arrests continued through the night. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass orders a limited curfew and said about 24 businesses have been looted. Meanwhile, President Trump praised the law enforcement response in Los Angeles and his part in it as U.S. Marines prepare to arrive in downtown L.A. to join the 4,000 National Guard troops already called up by the president. And with the latest, here's correspondent Rich Johnson.
As she announced an overnight curfew, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass put the L.A. geography into context.
The city of Los Angeles is a massive area, 502 square miles. The area of downtown where the curfew will take place is 1 square mile.
Bass also praised local law enforcement just hours after President Trump took credit.
Los Angeles would be burning, just like it was burning a number of months ago with all the houses that were lost. Los Angeles right now would be on fire.
California Democrat Representative Laura Friedman told CNN she's shocked by that statement.
And to say that it was Trump and other outside forces that have come in and gotten the situation under control is very disrespectful to local law enforcement who are out there trying to defend the public and doing a great job.
As for the California National Guard troops that Trump federalized, they will remain on duty for now. A federal judge refused an emergency motion to overturn what Governor Gavin Newsom and Attorney General Rob Bonta called the unlawful militarization of L.A. The judge scheduled a hearing for tomorrow. On Capitol Hill, California Representative Pete Hegseth used a subcommittee hearing to quiz Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on which part of the law the White House used to go around Newsom.
Invasion by a foreign nation, a rebellion or dangerous rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. Which authority is triggered here to justify the use?
I don't know. You just read it yourself and people can listen themselves, but it sounds like all three to me.
Also Tuesday, Guard troops expanded their mission beyond protecting buildings. Some accompanied ICE agents as they made arrests. I'm Rich Johnson.
Prior to traveling to North Carolina, where he and President Trump addressed soldiers, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth testified before a House committee looking into spending on both the national defense and for troops in Los Angeles. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports the hearing got testy at times, including in this exchange between Hegseth and a Democrat congresswoman.
Our department under the previous administration squandered a lot of that.
Please, I want your plan. I've had difficulties with the prior administration, and I don't mind calling them out. What is your plan for the future? Can we get that in writing and on paper so that we know where you're going? Because we don't have anything today. We have zip, nada, and knowing where you're going.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was questioned by lawmakers on the Trump administration's decision to deploy troops to Los Angeles. The Pentagon announced it would cost over $100 million.
We stated very publicly that it's 60 days because we want to ensure that those rioters, looters, and thugs on the other side assaulting our police officers know that we're not going anywhere. We're here to maintain the peace on behalf of law enforcement officers in Los Angeles, which Gavin Newsom won't do.
Early in his hearing with the House Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, Minnesota Democrat Betty McCollum questioned Hegseth on the cost of deploying Marines and troops to Los Angeles to address the demonstrations against ICE.
You asked about the situation in Los Angeles, and we believe ICE agents should be allowed to be safe in doing their operations, and we have deployed National Guard and the Marines to protect them in the execution of their duties.
After persistent questioning, Pentagon officials said it would cost $134 million to send troops to LA for 60 days. Hegseth defended President Trump's decision to send the troops.
ICE, which is a federal law enforcement agency, has the right to safely conduct operations in any state and any jurisdiction in the country.
About 700 active duty Marines were sent to help over 4,000 National Guard troops in Los Angeles.
President Trump has charged me with focusing on warfighting, lethality, meritocracy, standards, and readiness. That's exactly what we're doing. We're focused on what's important, warfighting and warriors. We're sweeping away distractions and bloated bureaucracy. We've set standards that are high, equal, and unwavering. DEI is dead.
Haya Panjwani, Washington.
When we return on America in the Morning, Trump on the phase-out of FEMA after these messages. This is America in the Morning, and with a check on the potential for severe weather this spring day, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
There are a couple of areas where thunderstorms may organize with severe impacts later today, with this most likely to occur this afternoon and evening. Both areas are focused over the northern half of the nation, with the main threats in both zones being hail and damaging wind gusts. The eastern zone may bring storms with gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour to parts of far northeastern Nebraska, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and southwestern Wisconsin, perhaps also reaching parts of northwestern Illinois, while gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour may be more prevalent in the western zone, stretching from eastern Idaho into southern Montana, a large portion of Wyoming, and the Nebraska Panhandle. Storms may also become occasionally severe in parts of the southern plains today, especially eastern Texas and Oklahoma, but the major story here will be the transition from organized severe weather to a developing flood risk, thanks to a days-long heavy rain event that kicks off today. The storm reaching the area will be in no real hurry to exit the region, and this means that through Friday, rainfall of at least 2 to 4 inches is expected south of San Antonio and northwest of Houston toward the Arklatex area and the southeastern part of Oklahoma City, likely resulting in some areas of flooding and potential travel disruptions due to road closures. To the east of there, more spotty and generally less intense coverage of showers and storms spreads across most of the Gulf Coast states today and through Florida into the Carolinas. Farther to the north, some drying arrives to the northeast and mid-Atlantic, with some areas facing a hazy sky as Canadian wildfire smoke returns. In New Orleans, a mix of clouds and sun is in store today with a thunderstorm, the high 88. For Columbus, Ohio, expect hazy sunshine today and a high of 84. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. No answers yet from the jury in Harvey Weinstein's sex crimes case as they continue deliberating. The latest from correspondent Julie Walker.
Jurors in Harvey Weinstein's sex crimes retrial appeared to be focusing on one of his 3 accusers as deliberations stretched into a 4th day, with no further sign of interpersonal tensions that flared earlier. The jury had requested electronic copies of emails and other evidence pertaining to Jessica Mann, the accuser with the most complex history with Weinstein. During days of testimony, she said the Oscar-winning movie producer raped her amid a consensual relationship. Weinstein's lawyers emphasized that she kept seeing him. Mann said she compartmentalized the pain he caused her. Weinstein denies the charges. The jury goes back to deliberating. Julie Walker, New York.
Saying that governors and not the federal government should be able to handle natural disasters in their states, President Trump announces he plans to phase out FEMA after this year's hurricane season. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
President Trump is signaling an end to another agency, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The president has been critical of FEMA. During the campaign, he spread misinformation about it in North Carolina in the wake of Hurricane Helene.
We want to wean off of FEMA, and we want to bring it down to the state level. A little bit like education, we're moving it back to the states so the governors can handle it. That's why they're governors now. If they can't handle it, they shouldn't be governor. but these governors can handle it, and they'll work in conjunction with other governors. They'll give each other a hand.
Last month, the president pushed out the acting head of FEMA, Cameron Hamilton, after he testified before Congress.
I do not believe it is in the best interest of the American people to eliminate the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
The plan is for disaster management to be handled by states.
If a certain state, as an example, gets hit by a hurricane or tornado, that's what a governor should be able to handle it. And frankly, if they can handle it, the aftermath, then maybe they shouldn't be governor.
The president says the phase out of FEMA will start after the end of hurricane season, November 30th. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Today's release of economic data could spook investors. Business news is next when America in the Morning continues after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with Wednesday Business.
Wall Street will open this morning after a winning day for stocks yesterday. The Dow up 100 points. The major averages all higher for the year. The S&P 500 index is on a 3-day winning streak.
As we sit less than 2% from the record highs from back in February, that it just twitched higher on this headline from Commerce Secretary Lutnick saying China talks went well. To me, that just shows the market is almost overeager to try to price in further de-escalation.
That's CNBC's Mike Santoli. This morning, it's all about inflation for investors with the CPI, the Consumer Price Index data for May, out at 8:30 Eastern. Many expect prices may have ticked higher last month.
The probability that one of the next two CPI reports actually has some of the tariff pain in it, in other words, toward higher prices, I think is pretty high.
That's the Bear Traps Report founder Larry McDonald on CNBC. Disney shares were higher yesterday. It agreed to pay Comcast more than $400 million for the part of Hulu that it doesn't already own. It was a lot less than Comcast wanted. Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference was ho-hum on artificial intelligence, but software got its biggest facelift in more than a decade for devices, and this investor is still bullish.
Apple's MO is never to be first into the fight. Apple's MO is to watch what everybody else does, let them spend all their money, and then come in and redefine the customer experience, just like they did with the iPhone, just like they did with the tablet, just like they did with services.
Fitzgerald Group's Keith Fitzgerald on CNBC. Apple also announced a way for iPhone users to add a passport to the Apple Wallet this fall with a new operating system. It'll create a digital ID. It doesn't replace a physical passport, but digital ID can be used for domestic travel at supported TSA checkpoints. Boeing had a good month of orders in May. The company continues to try to turn itself around.
The most orders for a month since last summer. A total of 300 planes were ordered last month. That includes 150 as part of the big announcement with President Trump. Those were to Qatar Airways. They also logged 146 orders for the 737 MAX. Speaking of the MAX, production last month has been increasing. The deliveries of the MAX up to 32 for the month of May, and they actually hit a build rate of 38 at the very end of the month.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. Luckin Coffee planning to open a cafe in New York City. Here comes Chinese coffee. Analysts estimate that Luckin Coffee and another Chinese coffee chain, it's called Coty, will be cheaper than Starbucks in the U.S. On today's watch list, we told you about inflation coming at 8:30, the CPI. We also get earnings today from Chewy and Oracle.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, planning for Washington, D.C.'s military parade after these messages. The first major election primary of 2025 was held in New Jersey, where 11 candidates vied to have the chance to be the next state's governor. Republican Jack Ciattarelli, who was backed by President Trump, easily prevailed against a field that included a popular talk radio host to win the GOP primary. Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, a former Navy pilot, was the winner in the Democrat primary. Current Governor Phil Murphy is term limited. For Ciattarelli, it's his second run for governor in the Garden State. He lost by just 4% against Murphy 4 years ago. We'll provide snapshots of national trends 1 year into the new Trump administration and a year before the 2026 midterm elections. Shifting gears, preparations are underway for the military parade scheduled for this weekend in Washington, D.C. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
The U.S. Army is unloading tanks and other equipment in a rail yard in Maryland in preparation for the military parade in Washington, D.C. to celebrate the Army's 250th birthday.
Overall, that is 90 vehicles of the 150, which will be in the parade on 14 June.
Camille Stockhoper with the Army's 3rd Armored Corps says it's a good training experience.
It's going to cost a little bit of money, but we're getting training value out of this. But also we get to tell our story.
Adding,
overall, this is like a big recruiting event.
Army officials expect about 200,000 attendees for the evening military parade. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, June 11th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
President Trump says he had to send the National Guard and the Marines into Los Angeles.
Los Angeles would be burning.
Ed Donahue, Washington.
ICE raids and ICE protests from coast to coast. I'm Rich Johnson.
Tracking teams zero in the search for murder suspect Travis Decker. I'm Sue Aller.
IBM announces world's fastest quantum computer. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Trump's message at Fort Bragg, a Baltimore jailhouse murder investigated. Disgraced congressman could be knocking at your door. And social media outburst gets an ABC News correspondent fired. Back after these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning. More thunderstorms in store for the South today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
As a very slow-moving storm takes shape over the southern plains and Texas in particular, daily rounds of rain are expected to develop starting today and become centered on the eastern half of Texas and much of eastern Oklahoma, also reaching western portions of both Arkansas and Louisiana at times. Through Friday, heavy thunderstorms may bring intense downpours that deliver at least 1 to 2 inches of rain from east of the Texas Panhandle through I-49 in Louisiana, also into the western suburbs of Little Rock, with storms turning severe at times. However, the highest risk for flooding and the most substantial travel disruptions may be focused on the zone from around San Antonio across the Red River into southeastern Oklahoma, where 4 to perhaps as much as 8 inches of rain may fall through Friday. Wet weather also continues across the Gulf Coast into the coastal southeast today, with a front lining up over much of that area, and the risk for thunderstorms extends into southern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, as well as just about all of Florida, although southeastern Florida may just have a morning shower. Watch for an afternoon thunderstorm in eastern parts of the Carolinas as well, but behind the front, drier air works into the mid-Atlantic and southern New England, with sunshine that may be hazy at times as some Canadian wildfire smoke returns yet again, but there may also be some brief showers around from northern New York State toward Vermont and New Hampshire. Elsewhere, a number of zones of thunderstorms will develop across the north and the interior west this afternoon and evening, with 2 areas of potential severe weather in the form of hail and strong winds. The eastern zone stretches from southern Wisconsin through the Iowa-Minnesota border into northeastern Nebraska, with the western zone perhaps a bit more gusty from the Nebraska Panhandle through most of Wyoming and into eastern Idaho. I'm the AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. California Governor Gavin Newsom addresses his state after filing an emergency appeal in an attempt to block President Trump from sending U.S. Marines and California National Guard troops onto the streets of Los Angeles. This as Mayor Karen Bass also ordered a limited curfew to take effect for certain parts of the city. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on the president defending the deployment of the National Guard to the nation's second-largest city, where more demonstrators were arrested, including for blocking a major downtown highway.
People have asked me, what are the Marines going to do when they get here? That's a good question. I have no idea. Because if you can do this to the nation's second-largest city, maybe the administration is hoping that this will be a signal to everybody everywhere to fear them. That your federal government that historically has protected you can come in and take over.
President Trump says he had to send the National Guard and the Marines into Los Angeles to deal with anti-immigration protesters.
Will the National Guard be in California indefinitely? How long will they be there until you think?
Until there's no danger. It's easy. Look, it's common sense. You ask me that question. When there's no danger, they'll leave.
In certain areas of Los Angeles, the president said it could have been called an insurrection.
If we didn't get involved, right now, Los Angeles would be burning, just like it was burning a number of months ago with all the houses that were lost. Los Angeles right now would be on fire, and we have it in great shape.
In the House, California Democrat Nanette Barragan's district is where the tensions started to build. She says the administration is using words like insurrection and invasion.
This is their way to lay down the groundwork to try to have martial law and invoke the Insurrection Act.
The president talked about that possibility.
If there's an insurrection, I would certainly invoke it. We'll see.
On Capitol Hill, lawmakers heard how much the Los Angeles deployment will cost.
The current estimated cost is $134 million, which is largely just TDY cost, travel, housing, food.
Ed Donahue, Washington.
The scenes from Los Angeles, not the only ICE protests. From Seattle to San Diego, Omaha, Chicago, New York, and other cities. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports people are gathering from coast to coast to oppose the so-called ICE roundups.
In Seattle, protesters piled up lime green e-bikes to block ICE vehicles from exiting the garage at the downtown Federal Building. In Austin, thousands gathered, marched, chanted, and otherwise expressed opposition to ICE raids. A mass rally in Lower Manhattan last night encircled two federal buildings that house immigration courts. A similar scene played out in San Francisco at the federal building. But ICE agents remain busy. Some raided meatpacking plants in Omaha, while others arrested people heading to scheduled appointments with immigration officials in Chicago. Alderman Anthony Quezada was in that crowd.
Right now, we need the moral clarity and courage to fight back against these harmful, evil policies.
To those who do want to fight back, President Trump says,
I can inform the rest of the country that when they do it, if they do it, they're going to be met with equal or greater force than we met right here.
And for reporters, getting the sounds and images from the scene has become dangerous for some.
Firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA.
You okay?
Australian TV reporter Lauren Tomasi in the middle of a live shot when she was hit by a rubber bullet. An officer can clearly be seen from about 30 feet away, turning to his right and firing directly at Tomasi. I'm Rich Johnson.
In Chicago, police report someone drove their car through a crowd, leaving one woman slightly injured. There were more than 15 people arrested in New York City. Police in Austin, Texas arrest a dozen people. 4 officers have been injured over the past 2 days. More than 150 arrests have been made in San Francisco since Sunday after buildings and cars were vandalized. Speaking to America's military in North Carolina, President Trump defended his order of the California National Guard and the U.S. Marines to deploy to L.A. in a speech he gave recognizing the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. The president surprised members of the armed forces when he said he'll restore the names of a number of military bases, including Fort Robert E. Lee, who had a name change under an order from former President Joe Biden.
We are also going to be restoring the names to Fort Pickett, Fort Hood, Fort Gordon, Fort Rucker, Fort Polk, Fort A.P. Hill, and Fort Robert E. Lee. We won a lot of battles out of those forts. It's no time to change.
Trump received plenty of cheers from the military crowd. The names of Fort Bragg in North Carolina and Fort Benning in Georgia were already changed back earlier this year. President Trump's address at Fort Bragg comes days before a military parade is set for Washington, D.C. this weekend to honor the U.S. Armed Forces. When we return on America in the Morning, quantum computers just got more quantum after these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning. Officials believe they're hot on the trail of Travis Decker as the Washington state manhunt intensifies for a father suspected of murdering his 3 young daughters. Details from correspondent Sue Aller.
A new lead has emerged in the search for Travis Decker, the 32-year-old Army veteran wanted for the kidnapping and murder of his 3 daughters. Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia. Their bodies were found on June 2nd near a remote campsite west of Leavenworth, Washington. Authorities say a hiker matching Decker's description was seen near Kolchak Lake, avoiding contact with others. A helicopter search team later saw someone running upon spotting the aircraft, leading tracking teams to follow a trail to the Ingalls Creek trailhead. Mike Morrison from the Chelan County Sheriff's Office said in an update Tuesday that Decker is well-versed in outdoor survival and may be attempting to live off-grid to avoid capture.
So we also understand, too, that he at times would do caching. So we understand that that's a possibility that he could have scoped out this area before, put supplies out there, and has the ability and the knowledge to survive for a long period of time.
Authorities are offering a $20,000 reward for information leading to his capture. Authorities are also urging residents to lock doors, check trail cameras, and report anything unusual. I'm Sue Aller.
In Baltimore, the death of a deaf inmate whose family says was avoidable remains under investigation, and a lawsuit was announced. Lisa Dwyer explains.
A new lawsuit alleges that Javaric Gant, a deaf man who was strangled to death in a Baltimore jail in 2022, was forced to share a cell with a first-degree murder suspect whose violent behavior had already alarmed his previous cellmate. Gordon Steron later pleaded guilty to Gant's death. Steron was awaiting trial in an apparently random stabbing attack that prosecutors called an axe murder. Gant, by comparison, was facing minor charges. Gant's family says he should have received special accommodations and alleged the corrections officers failed to properly monitor the dorm the night of his death. They are seeking over $50 million in damages. Court documents say that Gant weighed little over 100 pounds and was not able to call for help because he communicated primarily by sign language. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Navy officials last week discovered a body in a wooded area of Norfolk, Virginia, and the local medical examiner has confirmed it to be that of a missing Navy seaman. Fox News reports Angela Resendez was last seen at her barracks at Naval Station Norfolk. Police previously described Resendez's disappearance as critical, saying her health was at risk. The 21-year-old did not drive and was reported missing when she did not show up for work. The Navy has now reported that an unidentified sailor has been placed in pretrial confinement in connection with her death, and charges under the Uniform Code of Military Justice are pending. Shifting gears, it's being called one of the worst shooting events in the history of Austria. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports at least 10 people have been killed in a shooting at a school in the Austrian city of Graz.
Graz police say they believe the assailant acted alone. They say on social network X that 10 people are now dead, including the shooter, and several others seriously wounded. Spokesman Sabri Yorgun says, in the morning hours around 10 o'clock, we received a report that several shots had been heard in a building in the Borg area of Graz. As a result, the operation was launched and our EKO Cobra, the special unit, was deployed. The situation has now been secured, which means there's no further danger to the population, but there have been several fatalities. On the shooter, Jürgen adds, the facts are still being established. Mayor Elke Kar described the events as a terrible tragedy, the Austria press agency reports. It added the fatalities included students and at least one adult. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
IBM makes a major announcement about their upcoming quantum computers that just might break new speed records. Buckling up for the ride, tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
On Tuesday, IBM made the announcement that they will have a practical quantum computer ready to go by 2029. They also announced the plans to build a much larger system by 2033 called the Sterling quantum computer at a data center that is currently under construction in Poughkeepsie, New York. Quantum computers tap into quantum mechanics to solve the problems that would take classical computers thousands of years or more to solve. Due to the unusual nature of quantum bit computing, or qubits, require frequent error corrections, greatly reducing their efficiency. IBM claims to have conquered that limitation and clocking at over 200 qubits, which would make it one of the fastest quantum computers in the world. Microsoft, Alphabet's Google, and Amazon.com claim to have leaped ahead, raising hundreds of millions of dollars in capital, but have yet to produce these kinds of results. Bitcoin still hovering around 109,000 and Ethereum up at 2804. For more, find me at chuckpalm.com.
Midweek Sports is in on America in the Morning. Here's Robert Workman.
A full slate of Tuesday baseball. The first-place Tigers topped the Orioles 5-3. Yankees romped over the Royals 10-2. Aaron Judge with a 469-foot home run. That's only the third longest in the majors this year. Austin Wells went deep and drove in 5. White Sox doubled up the West-leading Astros 4-2. National League Cubs clubbed the Phillies 8-4. Ian Happ with 2 of Chicago's 4 dingers.
Felt like the at-bats yesterday were better, swings were closer, and so to get some results today and have 5 really good at-bats, even the first at-bat, good swings, good takes, I thought, and so put that all together today, felt really good.
Philadelphia has now dropped 10 of its last 12. Padres pummeled the Dodgers 11-1. Dylan Cease struck out 11 in 7 scoreless innings, while Manny Machado drove in 5. Mets rallied past the Nationals 5-4 in 10 innings. Jeff McNeil with the walk-off RBI double. New York owns the best record in the National League. Reds blanked the Guardians 1-0. Andrew Abbott went the distance on a 3-hitter. Red Sox dropped the Rays 3-1. Top prospect Roman Anthony with a 2-run double for his first hit in the show. Well done, Meat. Giants scored 4 in the ninth to edge the Rockies 6-5. Rangers rounded up the Twins 16-4. 5 RBI for Kyle Higashioka, but manager Bruce Bochy says everybody looked good.
A lot of good things today. I mean, guys swung the bats throughout the lineup. We've been waiting for a game like this. It's nice to have an easy one, and it's good to see them bounce back and play the type of ball they're playing right now.
Elsewhere, the Blue Jays shaded the Cardinals 10-9. Diamondbacks drilled the Mariners 10-3. Brewers bumped the Braves 4-1. Marlins fought off the Pirates 3-2, and the Angels tripped the A's 2-1 in 10 innings. Soccer, the U.S. men got blasted by Switzerland 4-0 in Nashville. That's the team's 4th loss in a row. First time that's happened in 18 years. Playoff action resumes tonight. Game 3 of the NBA Finals in Indianapolis. The Thunder and the Pacers tied at 1. That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, sir. The return of Carlos Danger when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Thanks for listening. This is America in the Morning. The speeches at the BET Awards clearly turned some heads this week. Kevin Carr has a recap.
The BET Awards took place on Monday night in Los Angeles. However, it was a night more about what was said than about what was won. In his monologue, host Kevin Hart took a dig at disgraced music icon Sean Diddy Combs, who is currently on trial for sex trafficking.
I'm shutting down the idea of after parties. No after parties tonight, okay? None. I did it on the Monday. People got to go to work tomorrow. No after parties.
Hart also took a jab at Kanye West.
He says he's out front. He's waiting for somebody to invite him in. Hey, don't do it. We all saw the movie Sinners. Don't let his ass in here.
Hart wasn't the only one to speak out. During an introduction to a live performance by Lettucey, Tyler Perry addressed current events.
They are removing our books from libraries. They are removing our stories and our history. They are removing our names from government buildings. It's as if someone wants to erase our footprints.
More pointedly, during her speech for Best Female Hip Hop Artist, Doechii called out the president by name.
Trump is using military forces to stop a protest. And I want y'all to consider what kind of government it appears to be when every time we exercise our democratic right to protest, the military is deployed against us.
Not everything was controversial, though. Jamie Foxx gave an impassioned speech for being named an ultimate icon, acknowledging his medical scare 2 years ago.
I don't know why I went through what I went through, but I know my second chance I'm not going to turn down.
I'm Kevin Carr.
Many New Yorkers could see a familiar face knocking at their door, asking for their vote. It could be former Democrat Congressman Anthony Weiner, who's attempting a political comeback with a candidacy for the New York City Council. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Who's that knocking at your door? It's Anthony Weiner on a comeback tour.
Where we are focusing like laser beams on knocking on as many doors as we can, calling as many people we can, and sending them, information about me as much.
That's the former Democratic congressman on his social media. The 60-year-old who left office in scandal is running for a New York City Council seat. His once promising political career imploded in sexting scandals that culminated in a prison sentence after he had illicit online contact with a 15-year-old girl. As he knocked on dozens of doors in the lower Manhattan district he's hoping to represent. Most people appeared happy and surprised to see him. No one pressed him about his scandals. He's got several challengers in the Democratic primary, which starts June 14th. Julie Walker, New York.
Suspension turns to termination. ABC News is parting ways with veteran correspondent Terry Moran 2 days after the longtime correspondent posted on X calling President Trump and Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller world-class haters. The network said that Moran's contract was about to expire, and it was decided internally not to renew his work agreement, calling his actions a clear violation of ABC News policies. Moran was a former Nightline anchor who's been ABC's senior national correspondent in recent years. That's our show for today. America in the Morning for Wednesday, June 11th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.